County, 74% acres are federally managed. 99% of the land BLM manages is west of the Mississippi River. You would think that locating the headquarters of the agency somewhere in that footprint would simply be common sense. In your testimony, you alluded to the Trappers Lake memo authored by Art Carhart. It stated that there are a number of places with scenic values of such great worth that they are rightfully the property of all people. They should be preserved for all time for the people of the nation and the world. Trappers Lake is unquestionably a candidate for that classification. There are many places deserving of such protection in the West. However, there are also many places, many of which are managed by the Bureau of Land Management, that are literally made for opportunities for resource opportunities, for grazing, others for wheeling, for energy, much of it for all of the above. The problem is, if you've never lived or visited in these areas in the Western U.S., you wouldn't know that. You may be tempted to treat every public acre as if it should be a wilderness area or some other kind of designation. That's why I believe it's important for the BLM to move out west, so its employees live among the land they manage and can more readily see the practical impacts of the management decisions they make. Can you provide an update for us on the status of the departments of your organization and relocation plans?
So we're, thank you very much for that question. We're developing a business case for moving BLM west. We've just submitted our budget for 2020, which contemplates a move west, and we'll be visiting with you and other members of Congress to hopefully move west. It's very interesting. When I was confirmed as Deputy Secretary, a Senate Democratic staffer gave me what was a job description of the Deputy Undersecretary that came through a committee hearing. And in that very committee hearing in 1936, the member said, if you're going to add a deputy, we want you to spend at least half your time in the West. And I think with modern technology, that's pretty easy for a bureau director to do. And as a matter of fact, most of them spend a lot of time in the West. And so I think their folks can too. It also adds an element of allowing us to get to places easier, more quickly, shorter flights, and frankly, the quality of life of our employees will be fantastic too. So there's a lot of reasons to think about it, and we're trying it.
Thank you, Mr. Bernhardt. And it's unfortunate but not unexpected that the very qualities that make you a supremely qualified candidate to serve as secretary are being portrayed by detractors as strikes against you. Instead of being portrayed as a competent lawyer who represents clients zealously and ably, you're painted as compromised and in pockets of industry. If the same standards had been applied to Sally Jewell, she wouldn't have made it out of committee. She was a former oil company employee who had most previously served as the CEO of one of the nation's premier outdoor recreational gear companies. That runs the gamut of issues the secretary is required to balance when running the Interior Department. However, at the time, they were portrayed in the press as assets that would help her responsibly guide the department instead of liability. Sally Jewell received 87 votes, Republicans and Democrats, when her nomination came to the floor. Janice Schneider was Assistant Secretary of Land and Minerals and served under Secretary Jewell during the Obama administration. She came from a law firm, a lawyer where she handled environment, land, and natural resource issues. Her conflict list submitted to ethics was very similar to the substances in yours. At the same time of Ms. Schneider's nomination, Secretary of the Interior Sally Jewell said, and I quote, Janice's expertise in natural resource energy development and environmental law and policy will enable us to continue to safely and responsibly expand America's conventional and renewable energy exploration, development under President Obama's all-of-the-above energy strategy. With experience in both the public and private sectors, she will be an advocate for a balanced approach and a science-based decision-making process that both advances the President's key energy initiatives and promotes the conservation of our federal lands and natural resources. Apparently, your experience isn't to be given the same consideration. I'm out of time, but I think there's an absolute double standard that's being applied here. That private and public experience on one side of the aisle seems to be a benefit. Private and public experience on the other side of the aisle seems to be a detriment. I get sick, and the American people get sick of the double standards of life. You're more than well qualified. You have dealt honestly and ably with every member of this committee. If they look past the partisan politics, they will see your confirmation is absolutely in order. Thank you, Mr. Bernhardt.
Thank you, Senator Gardner. Senator Heinrich.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Acting Secretary, as you are aware, New Mexico is one of the most productive oil and gas states in the